Hello and welcome. I am here today with Anthony Fu. He is from Nuxt Labs and he is a Vue, Nuxt, and Vite core team member. Welcome, Anthony. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Yes, you bet. And we're talking about JSNation because that's happening in June and you will be speaking at JSNation. By the way, I have a discount link in the description of the video so you can attend. It's a hybrid event also, right? So it's online and also in Amsterdam, if I'm correct.
Yes, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I like to start out any interview with a couple of lighthearted questions. And one, I know you're in France, so I've never been and I really want to go. So what's one thing I should try out that I'm outside of Kansas City in the US? So I'm interested in the food. What's something I should try out in France when I get to visit?
So that would be actually a bit hard question for me because I'm also an outsider, but I just moving in Paris like for a year, and so hopefully I wouldn't offend like the French foodie. I don't know, but I think that's something quite special in France that I have seen is probably snail. So yeah, I think it should be a kind of famous dish. It's like you have a parsley and cooked with a snail. So you basically could find that in every bistro here in France, I suppose. And it tastes quite good.
I think you're the perfect person to answer that question since you didn't grow up there and you've moved there and been there for a year. So you've got some good experience as an outsider, and that's what I would be interested in. So thank you.
Okay.
All right. Another question I always like to ask at the beginning of an interview is, what code editor did you start out with? I go way back in the day myself, so I'm always curious, and I think the viewers are too. How did you get started? What was the first editor you used to write code?
So yeah, I think my first editor is probably not a text editor, but it's more like an IDE. So I started with Visual Basic 6.0. Which is it's like a visual editor for like create application for Windows, and it's pretty nice because when I was like very young, I started as 13, and when I was very young, it's like having something visual and I can drag the buttons and resize it visually. That really helps me to get into the feedback loop. It's like I'm being able to create something and to share with my parents or with my friends. It's like, oh, this is something I built, even though it's just like jogging. But it's more like it got me into the loop that I feel accomplishment by making stuff. And yeah, that's my first stuff. And then I got into C#. Because it naturally goes to like C#.NET, it's a Visual Basic.NET and then C#.NET, and then I starting to do a little bit like Unity because it's also using C#, and then go to Python and trying to build my own website, and then I started to use JavaScript, jQuery, and then JavaScript actually becomes the language that I love the most, so I stay and I spend more time, and probably majority of time now is mostly on front end.
Excellent. Hey, thank you for sharing your entire roadmap there. I think that's interesting for everyone watching because everyone can take a different path to where they are now and how they got into the JavaScript ecosystem or C#. My oldest son is a developer and he loves C#, just as you mentioned. I go way back and I created several applications, business applications with Visual Basic 6 as well. So I know exactly what you were talking about.
That's pretty cool.
So now as we move into JSNation and JavaScript, which is where you're at and what you love now, and you're working with Vue and Nuxt, and I haven't covered that as much on my channel. I've covered more React tutorials. So for a beginner or somebody that is not as familiar with those, would you like to explain a little bit about them or compare them to React in a way?
Okay, so I think Vue has probably quite long history similar to React. So we just reached like 10 years anniversary for Vue to become public, and so it's kind of a old framework compared to now. It's like it has some history. And while that's it's similar to React, is like a data binding to present view from the data. And I think the main difference between Vue and React is like Vue is it's based on reactivity, so that's it tracks that each object or each primitive we call ref, and nowadays it's called signal in Solid or the other framework. But they are the same idea. Is just like fine-grained reactivity. We know which object or which value you have changed, and we can chain that reactivities and to track the changes of your app, and then we can do the update of the view based on how your data has been changed. And so like I think that framework is mostly about preference, and just like it's in the end is always solving your problem, right? And for Nuxt is a meta framework built on top of Vue, and it can be like, in comparison, it's pretty much like Next.js, but for Vue. And while that's we also trying to make some innovation. It's like we care a lot about developer experience. So in Nuxt 3, we build on top of Vite, and we have the kind instant hard module replacement thanks to Vite's native ES module approach. I hope I didn't go too deep, but in the end, it's like we're also providing Nuxt Dev tool that allows you to inspect a lot of different stuff of your meta framework. So our goal is to make your building application with server-side render, with SEO or something like easier as possible. And well, that's you can enjoy the entire developer flow of that using the framework. So yeah, I think I have probably mentioned too much concept inside, but I hope it can give you a brief expression of what it is.
Oh, you did great, and the viewers of my channel love the details. I always go into detail, so don't be afraid of sharing as much as you want. So now let's move on to JSNation, and without giving away the secrets that you'll be sharing in your talk, can you tell us a little bit about the topic of your talk and what you will be presenting?
Okay, so my topic actually has little relationship between Vue and Nuxt. It's about ESLint. So ESLint is also a tool that has a long history, and it's a linter for JavaScript in general, like to help you to enforce a certain code styles, or you can do a lot of things basically. Just like to say you prefer using const rather than var or let, or like you prefer like a certain type of the loop, like or how your indentation works, etc. And so what I'm going to talk about is the new, like I think on last Friday, a few days ago, ESLint just released version 9, which is a new major release, and with a new configuration system. And that configuration system gives us a lot of new benefit or potentials for customizations, and also solving a lot of like history problem. That's if you have used ESLint before, you might feel that it's a little bit overcomplicated, but I hope this new stuff will improve it a lot. So what about my talk is I'm just trying to explain this and why this is interesting, and how it can benefit either the rule maker who is defining which rule of ESLint to use, and also the end users that's how to use those rules and how to configure it like what you want. And I think both sides is very interesting, and this new format can help a lot, and that's something I would like to share.
Awesome. Very interesting indeed. And so remember, everyone, that's going to be at JSNation this June, where you can hear Anthony talk about that. And I've got a link to all the details in the video description. Thank you, Anthony, for joining me today and talking about Nuxt and Vue, and sharing all of your expertise, and of course, what you'll be talking about at JSNation this summer, June 13th and 17th. Hey guys, I recently started a Patreon, and I'm already giving shout outs to Holy Coder, who is a progress provider, and Eldad, who joined at the senior member level. Also shout outs to all of the junior members that have joined. Thank you all so much. You're helping me reach my goals. And if you haven't joined, please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/DaveGray. I've got exclusive content there that you won't find on YouTube, and I've also got early release content. Hope to see you there. Remember to keep striving for progress over perfection, and a little progress every day will go a very long way. Please give this video a like if it's helped you, and thank you for watching and subscribing. You're helping my channel grow. Have a great day, and let's write more code together very soon.